Welcome to Purple Easel Spotlight, where we put the spotlight on artists and creatives. My name is Latoya.
And I'm Megan.
And we're both art instructors here at California's largest paint tip studio, Purple Easel. So who are we doing today?
We doing Eric Carle.
Oh, good.
It's been a minute since I picked an illustrator, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with like the most prolific, well-known, recognizable illustrator in the history of the universe.
Yes.
So he was born in 1929 and he died, unfortunately, kind of recently in 2021. I don't know if you recall, but it did kind of pop up and it was like on the tail end of all the awful COVID-ness. And it was like, oh, another hit, to the heart. He was born in New York, but he moved to Germany with his fam bam when he was about 6. His mother was from Germany and his grandmother was missing her family, and so they were convinced to move out there. And it wasn't a great time. I mean, that's kind of the story with almost every artist ever.
Yeah.
But he got a degree out there from a very prestigious art school and then decided to come back to New York as soon as he was able with $40 in his pocket and a nice portfolio.
Interesting.
Yes, the old go get 'em California dream. American,
yeah. Pull up yourself by the bootstraps.
Yeah, exactly. So he did the thing and he worked as a graphic designer for the New York Times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like his first gig.
Interesting.
Right. Went straight to the top.
Wow.
He did really good. And then he ended up being an art director for an ad agency. And I just completely have Mad Men vibes. And it's so weird to think of that and Eric Carle.
Yeah.
It's such a weird combination.
But I can see what you're saying, though.
Yeah. All right. So then he made an advertisement that featured a lobster with his kind of collage-y style. And so educator and author Bill Martin Jr. saw the lobster ad and reached out to him saying, I want to do a collaboration. And so Brown Bear, What Do You See was born.
Really?
Yes.
Aww.
And I have a certain soft spot for this particular book because it's the first one my daughter was able to like completely read by herself.
Oh.
Granted, there's like 10 words in it total, but it was kind of that milestone. And it's fun because Eric Carle's been around forever. It feels like, at least when you're us. And we had him around as kids, and now my kid gets to experience it. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yes. Generational.
Yes. After doing his collaboration, he did his first book, which was 1, 2, 3 to the Zoo. And then shortly after, his claim to fame, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, came to life.
Nice.
It was published in over 66 languages and has sold more than 50 million copies.
That sounds about right. It's very popular.
Very popular. So I pulled some images here, which kind of show the process.
Because I always wanted, like, if you, in your head, you kind of know what it is,
Right.
But
Collage. Like, how does that take place?
Yeah. Interesting.
So he would hand paint tissue paper and then basically draw out his character or whatever, and then start cutting and pasting and building up his piece.
Okay.
And then, of course, turn it into books and put some words in there and stuff. All his books are relatively simple in terms of language because they're really geared towards like the 3 to 8 range where you're getting very beginning readers, and that's your target. It makes sense. You don't want it to be too complicated. But it's really all about the illustrations. Like, who cares about the word?
No, I don't remember what none of the book says. I just remember the pictures. And as soon as you showed me, I was like, yes, I love you. I remember this.
Yeah. So he would use all these super bright images, and he developed this very distinct and instantly recognizable style. I mean, it was hard to find images, to be honest, because everybody has their own version.
Really?
You think about like back in school, I know I did one. I made a butterfly with tissue paper and like just put it on there. And I know it's projects for kids still.
Yeah.
And if you try to Google stuff online, you get like Eric Carle inspired 20 ways to have Eric Carle crafts. Like there's so much stuff that I was like, how do I know if this is actually short of like going and looking through books?
Yeah. Fair.
But I stumbled across his blog.
Oh, he's got a blog.
He had a blog.
Okay.
And he would post like Happy Mother's Day and show like a picture of some sort of animal with, you know, the mom and the baby. And it was so cute. It was just so sweet. So I pulled some images that I know for sure.
Yeah.
So let's take a look-see. It's so pretty. And part of me is like, okay, well, this is my color scheme. I love teal.
Yeah.
Teal is my most favorite ever. So that's already like
Calling you.
yeah. But look at all the little ducks.
And I just like seeing the texture, that it's so texture heavy.
Yeah, it's so cool that he paints it, and he just does abstract stuff. And we've discussed some abstract and how some is more successful than others, but I think in this context, it just creates so much depth.
You know, okay, one thing I really like about his artwork is, now this is going to sound weird because I've noticed when I'm describing things, I don't use the words that are in my head. They come out as sounds. So they give me like very like, but it's not like your eyes and your minds are all over the place, but it always goes back to a single focus. And it's because there's all this cool, fun texture. There's also so many different colors, but it doesn't get jumbled.
Yeah,
It doesn't get messed
too
up.
convoluted.
Yeah.
It still presents an overall composition that is pleasing. Like,
Yes.
for those of you who are not super familiar with how composition is kind of broken down, there's what we call the rule of thirds. And the idea is not to center your focal point, but to put it slightly off center, kind of that third of your workspace. And that's going to make your work way more dynamic. And some of it just happens intrinsically. And they really talk about it a lot when you're lining up a shot for photography, but it's definitely something we consider when we're creating paintings and stuff, especially here at Purple Easel. Because we want something that's accessible to our guests, but we still want it to be fun and interesting.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to kind of play with it. But you can see the placement of the moon versus the placement of the duck. They're both kind of at that 1/3 line. So he's creating something that's nice and safe.
Yeah.
I know there's all this kind of chaos going on.
Yeah, definitely.
These winter scenes, like,
Pretty.
I'm not entirely sure how he achieved this effect. It still has kind of that translucency that you would get from the tissue paper, but it's less collagey. So I don't know if he like just painted straight on it
I
or
was wondering about that.
it's very soft.
You know, I wonder if it's like layers.
It could be. Because you think about Tiffany, when Tiffany was doing his glass work,
Yeah.
and he would layer panes of glass to create depth and a certain effect by getting different textures and colors together. And I feel like that has the same vibe.
It's so pretty.
It's so pretty and it's so colorful. Like there's so much happening. It looks like a quilt.
Yeah, totally. It's giving me jumpy vibes. I keep jumping. I don't know. It's giving me such vibes and feelings just looking at, like, again, I don't know. Again, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't speak. It's just
Took the words right out of your mouth.
yeah, they're just very like jumpy. I don't know. It's harder for me to guess.
It's energetic.
Yes,
Energetic. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of color. It's bright. It's happy. It's a pretty simple composition. There's not a lot going on in just what it is. It's some water and some trees and a sun.
Yeah.
There's also a little hut
Yeah.
situation going on. But that's it. It's a couple elements thrown together. But the way it's put together
Yeah.
is where the interest lies.
Agreed. Oh, that's cute.
It's so cute. It's so scribbly, right? It's like so kitty.
Yeah, very kid friendly. Oh, there's a little baby.
It's a baby in a mom. That was one of the mothers too.
Oh, okay.
So cute.
You get kind of a sense of movement too with the
You
lines.
do. And, like, it's so funny. I saw a movie recently, and there was a quote where a guy said he loved clouds. And the girl's like, okay, you're kind of weird. Why do you love clouds? And he's like, because it's the only thing that when you draw it as a kid, it actually still looks like that as an adult. Like, think about how you draw a sun and you do a ball with little rays coming off. It doesn't really look like that hanging up in the sky.
Yeah.
Clouds, it's pretty close.
That is close. Very true.
And the waves, you still get
yeah.
it's accurate.
Yeah. Yes, that's
It's a very
wrong.
simplified version of it, but we know what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Huh? Huge.
I know. I love the butterflies, all the little things. And of course, we have our artist caterpillar because why wouldn't we?
Oh, it's
so
artist.
cute. It's so cute. So a lot of his books had a three-dimensional aspect. You would have like die-cut cutouts. There would be sounds, twinkling lights. They added a lot of things. He liked to make books you can play with and toys you could read. I thought that was so sweet.
Wow.
While I was researching him, I found this little tidbit. As you know, I love my tidbits, my facts. He had this memory of a neighbor or somebody he played with when he was originally living in New York. So he was still young, like 3 or 4.
Okay.
And he would run around with her. They had a picture of them together. He would bring her flowers, all kinds of real cute things, right? So he wrote a book about it as an adult and was like, this friendship, like this is something that's always stuck with me. It was a cute little story, and that, we would show the bouquet, doing all the little things. And the person it was about, he didn't even remember the name,
Okay.
reached out to him, saw the work, and was like, hey.
That's me.
And they reconnected after like 50 years or something. And I thought that was the coolest little story.
So what I need to do to get back with my friends from elementary schools, I need to write a book about them.
Yeah.
See.
And also maybe be famous so that
That's true. That's super cool, though.
it's super cool. As I mentioned previously, there's like all these different crafts and things you can do. As I was diving into Eric Carle, I really learned more about his philosophy. Obviously, he's a children's book illustrator. He is targeting children, not in a negative way. And he really, really believed that he was in a position to bridge the gap between school and home.
Oh.
He says that for a child, the second most traumatizing experience is going to school. First of which is being born. Which, I mean, pretty traumatizing.
It's not wrong.
But I thought it's so cool that he's just like got this one thing that he's trying to fill that niche and create the safety of home, but the fun and new experiences part of school, and kind of just putting it all together. And I think it's great. On his website, they have coloring books you can print out, different activities you can do, like the whole estate.
Yes.
Brand is about that for kids. And I think that's super cool, and it gave me such wholesome vibes. And I'm thinking, as I'm reading this, I'm like, man, he's really up there with like Fred Rogers and Jim Henson.
I would say.
And then I was scrolling through his blog, and what do I find? A picture of him with Mr. Rogers.
Oh,
I had to throw it on here because it's super adorbs. And they actually did a collaboration where he went on to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood and read a book and like all this stuff. And it was super cute.
Do kids today have anything like that?
Like Mr. Rogers?
Well, yeah.
Daniel Tiger's neighborhood.
Okay.
So it's actually Fred Rogers' son.
Okay.
And they've got trolley in it, and they've got things that like people will visit sometimes. But it's basically a toddler tiger it's animated rather than kind of weird puppet stuff going on. But yeah, all the same kind of lessons and like count to 10, calm yourself down, and like we were like, hey, Talia, why don't you put on Daniel's learn some things.
Yeah.
We're all about those PBS kids, like good content. But yeah, it's the whole thing. It's continued in the name of Mr. Rogers. Doesn't even have like samples from the theme song in the Daniel Tiger theme song. It's super cute. As for Eric Carle, yes.
Well,
yes, it is still alive and well. These are straight out of my daughter's bedroom. I had to sneak in there in the middle of the night because I forgot to pre-plan and dig through her books. And she's getting to this point now where she's in first grade and she's gaining confidence with her reading. So she's starting to actually look at her books.
Okay.
Instead of just like making up her own story, she's reading the words. But yeah, oh look, there's the one.
Yeah. Very nice.
The kangaroo have a mother too.
Okay. I high-key miss, because I used to be in the education system, used to be like a TA for handicapped children, but I worked with many different children. But one thing is, which is an experience, if you haven't experienced, is reading books to children. Well, actually, I also used to have a dog, and we would go read books to children. Yeah, she was a therapy dog. But it's one thing that's just a really fun activity, and it's just a good connecting way, just a human experience, is reading books to children. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, nothing beats it.
We talk about artists who do things for the betterment of society, and I think he really fits the bill.
Oh, yeah.
He is such like...
And what you were talking about with that bridge, like bridging the gap, he definitely did that. I like definitely,
Yeah, I mean, it's taught in schools, it's at home, it's... There's like plays, there's all kinds of very hungry caterpillar stuff. We were walking around South Coast Plaza and there was an art installation and it was addressing like feeding the poor, and it was stuff made out of food, like packaging and stuff. And there was a Eric Carle one that was a very hungry caterpillar made of a bunch of stacked up cans, and like it was really cool. And it just shows you like it's still so relevant.
Very cool.
And he's been around for what feels like forever.
Yeah.
Because our whole lives anyways. So
yes.
Yay, Eric Carle. All the feels. We love you.
And thank you for sharing your lovely books.
Yes, of course. I'm super excited to introduce our next artist. Hannah Austin.
Okay.
Is a crafter. This is kind of the first crafty type thing we're really getting into. And what started as a hobby has now become her life's passion.
Is that always the case?
Basically, yes. And Instagram helped, and I've even included a shot of the one that went viral. And it was lucky for me that somebody nominated her for Meet the Maker, and she gave a little blurb about herself, so I can tell you. She loves hiking. She loves hanging out with her hubby and her 3 boys. She loves board games. I challenge you, Hannah, to a game of Ticket to Ride. Just saying. I love that game. And she loves food. So I feel like we would be best friends.
Ooh, contact Megan.
So that was cool to get to know a little bit about her, because unlike us, where you can kind of see our fandoms present itself through our work, her work really has nothing to do with any of that. But it's super Eric Carle style, very collage-y, pieced together, but with fabric.
Let's check it out. So this is fabric, right? Sewn together. Like, okay.
And then some like embroidery.
I was gonna ask, like, okay.
Yeah.
Like beads and, okay.
Yeah. So you've got kind of the same vibes as Eric Carle, where he would paint it, and it's just the presence of the fabric.
Wait, but hold up. This is computer chips. This is like, gosh, I used to build computers now, I don't know.
Motherboard type.
Yeah, essentially, yes. What?
Yeah, right. Like, Mind blown. It's so cool. It's so, so cool. And it really does look like a cityscape built with RAM cards.
This is crazy.
And she uses like metallic thread to create some shine, and so like all the little light rays coming out, and then some sequins and stuff is thrown in there.
What the heck?
And then like right at the ground line, you can see she's done a lot of little embroidery. She says she learned most of her skills from her grandmother, so I would imagine her grandmother taught her how to embroider and sew and like that. But it's
tarnation.
I love it. I love it so, so much. And I've been so stoked to show her work because every time I'm scrolling through Instagram and her stuff pops up, it just makes me happy. And I encourage you all to follow artists on Instagram, whatever aesthetic you're into, because why not surround yourself with things that make you feel good? Because, man, she makes me feel good. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, no, I'm like, it's so cool.
And this I included is really cool, like a series. So just like artists will do and have a series of things where they go through a certain subject matter, or even somebody who does like abstract florals, they'll pick a flower and study it. And all kinds of different angles and compositions. And this is some awesome, you know.
I wonder if it was the fabric, like the Aurora.
Probably. I mean, she probably comes across things and is like, how can I use that?
But then she's also like using the metallic thread also into the fabric to make it look even more cooler.
Right. And it's some sequins, like a water where you get like the little bubbly bits. And this totally gives me Eric Carle vibes.
Oh, yeah, it's totes.
It's a totally different material. Like, material. So it's just so cool to see how you can transform things and reimagine a way to do something we've seen a lot of.
You know, the humans are out here just creating. We're just coming with all sorts of different ideas and things and ways to do things. Like, we're so innovative. Go us humans.
Right? So if you're out there and you're like, oh, I just do this thing for fun, don't discount it, because somebody out there will be like us and totally fine over it and think it's the best thing ever.
You know, some guy followed me the other day and he's just like he's a hat juggler. Oh. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I'm just like looking at him like, dang, that must have took so long. And I'm like, my mind's going, I'm like, how can I juggle hats now? But yeah, no, you're right though. Just surround yourself with things, and, you know, also to experience new things, because I didn't know this existed.
Thanks, algorithm, for letting it pop up that first time. And now I'm like, give me more, give me more.
Yeah.
Wow. I love all the floral. We talked about this with Femme Noir when we talked about the juxtaposition of different floral patterns together. And I feel like this is a very successful use of it. It's like a field of flowers. And she didn't even have to do much other than pick different fabrics that made sense together.
You know, that's what I'm really liking about this is it's all individual pieces that make one grand piece, and you don't really think about it until you pick it apart.
Yes.
Because we can enjoy the image for how it is, but then you're like, oh, wait. Like, okay. And I'm like looking at the process, and like, okay, dang, like work.
At face value, it seems pretty simple, like, oh, this is kind of like quilting, but it's very cerebral. She's making a lot of very intentional decisions and probably a lot of trial and error. Like, does this work here? No, it didn't work. Let me switch it out with something else.
Because, okay, like the sky, for instance, you can see that just as a pattern. I would not have thought of that as a sky. Yeah. And to use that as a sky. But it's so cool.
But it works. It really did. Sky. It's something interesting. Yeah. I love what she's doing. Ooh. I included this one for you.
Yeah. I know you like all the details. I'm like the moons and the stars.
Which is super funny because when I was in high school, I was all about the celestial stuff. I had like a moon and sun bedspread, and like somebody gave me a star-shaped balloon for my birthday one year. It was like one of the Mylar ones. So when it like deflated, I just flattened it out and pinned it on my ceiling, like just weird stuff. But I saw a meme the other day, and it was like, every kid in the 90s had a celestial phase. And I was like, oh, I thought I was the only one. I legit did. And then I'm like, no, that's literally my bedspread.
Yeah. You didn't have like the glow in the dark stars and put up.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. We all did that. This is so cool. Oh my gosh.
I love the colors. I included these last two just because they're so pretty. They're so pretty. And this one actually looks a lot like tissue paper.
Okay.
Like his
I can see that.
tissue paper kind of has almost a watercolor effect to it.
Yes.
So, Toya,
Yes.
after looking at all these pretty images, my question for you is, how much does presentation matter when it comes to your artwork?
To artwork in general?
Yes, like when you're putting it out into the world, how much care do you take in how it's presented?
I think it matters because if you go on Instagram, you know, people curate. You know what's interesting on Instagram is, I think
It's more bonus than you realized, right?
yeah, because some people do, I think, a little bit too much. They'll be like, here's a picture, now here's a leaf, and here's a candle, and then here's a pencil, and so you don't take the picture. Like, they didn't need to be all that.
Right.
I just need to look at the picture. All other stuff, like the bells and whistles, is cool. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes I'm like, it kind of turns me off a little bit. Because I just want to look at the, it
becomes too formulaic
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
to plan.
Yeah.
I just want to see, or if you're, I think I like it when they hold, like if
Yeah.
you're holding it, I'm like, that's, I don't know, there's a connection between
And
the
then you get
person.
the scale too,
Yeah.
which I really like. For me, it's lighting makes a big difference. So when I first started doing Inktober stuff, and I was, taking a picture, and then I would maybe make a few adjustments, but then I would just throw it up there. And now scrolling back, I'm like embarrassed. I'm like, no, I need to change the brightness so the white is actually white, and it looks like, because the way your phone captures it or any camera isn't accurate to life.
Yeah.
So now I spend time like trying to make sure the warmth is accurate and just little things, because it's going to make the piece look way better and read better, especially in a small format.
Yeah.
So to that extent, I think it's important if you are doing like a gallery show, or if you are even putting things on Etsy to have matting around it or a frame, even if it's just a Photoshop.
Yeah.
Like it personalizes the work more. It gives a polished presentation. It's like showing up for an interview in nicer clothes.
Okay, you know what? I have more to say. Because I did think about, like, it's kind of like an interview and that kind of thing. And I remember, not to shut out my fiance, but he was doing a show or something. Not like his show. He was like at a booth, essentially, like an art show. And I get to his booth, I'm like, so you trying to sell? He got hate. So you trying to sell, but he knows. So he's trying to sell art that's dusty, that has dust on it. No. And I was like, no, all this. So I took it and I fixed it, and I'm like, no. And I was like, you got to put stuff here and here and here. And then he started selling. He thought I was, because he's like, you're my lucky charm. I'm like, no, I just know aesthetics. I just know what the people want, and the people want it to look
garage
nice.
sale. It doesn't there's no perceived value. Like, but if it's neatly organized and easy to go through, if you make it easy for people to buy your things, they're more likely to buy your thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think in this age of social media dominance, it's still important to consider how you're framing your art, how you're matting your art, the way you're selling it. If you are shipping something, are you putting a backer in there so it doesn't get crumpled in the mail? Like, there's these little details that make all the difference. For me, I don't have a ton of money to spend on it when I sell something through Etsy or whatever, like I'm stoked, right? Like every little bit is super cool. Not monetarily so much as like, man, people are willing to spend money on my stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's such an ego boost, right? But I want to take the care and show my appreciation. So I take a little bit of embroidery floss and I tie a little bow on it. I put a sticker on it. Nothing that's going to cost me a ton. Like I'm not printing up a bunch of branded stuff.
Yeah.
I put my card in there, whatever, kind of call it a day. But there's some attention to detail. And I feel like when I get those things, ordering it, just getting to unbox something or whatever, it just elevates the experience.
Yeah, no, it does. And you can leave a good review. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's true, because when I get something from Etsy, someone will be like, "Oh, thank you so much," like a little thank you card and stuff like that, like a little sticker. You know, it's just an extra. It really does. Yeah, and then you can become a repeat customer. So yeah. So no, it matters. True.
So things to keep in mind as you're going out into the world and putting your work out there. Put it out there in a way that you really want to represent you.
Don't be like me on my first Etsy sale. I know I felt so bad, and they done the better review, and then I never did Etsy again. But this was a long time ago. I did sell a print, and I was like, I know this has to be nice and not crumply, but it got a little crumply in it, and I felt bad. And I didn't put like any nice, cute little thank you or stickers or nothing, but it was also my first time. And I was also doing Etsy, and it was like 10 years ago. I don't know.
You're not really prepared. So like for me, I was like, I knew if I was going to try to sell stuff, I wanted to have it at least like protected. So I ordered like the plastic sleeves and the little backers in like 2 different sizes. And I'm like, okay, that's good. I don't know if this is actually going to like hit the ground running or what. It's fine. But I at least had that. And then as a few sales happened, I'm like, I should make this more special. And so I did the little, it's cost effective, but it's still something.
It's the little thing.
Yep. We talked a lot about details and putting the details into your work, making specific decisions for how you're going to place things, and then how you're going to present them and put your best foot forward. But I think the big takeaway here is get it out there because you never know what is going to make somebody else happy.
Definitely.
To you, it could be a total throwaway. To someone like us, we could be totally oohing and gooing over it on camera for everybody to see.
Yes.
You never know.
Secret fans. You'll always have some secret fans. You just don't know. There's a lot of people who I follow. They don't know I love them, but, I just give them a like, but, so definitely put yourself out there. And from all of us at Purple Easel, thank you so much for tuning in.
Check out the work of Eric Carle and Hannah Austin in the links below.
Join us at purpleeaselplus.com to paint with the world's largest paint studio online.
And if you're in Southern California, make sure to swing by the studio. Come and hang out with us for a while. In the meantime, create more and create often.
Bye.
That's all, folks.
A 1, a 2, a 3.